You can go from having $200 in your bank account to driving a $3 million Bugatti in less than 18 months. No business, no empire, just one contract, and everything explodes. Because in professional sports, money doesn't grow, it hits. One day you're driving something basic, something you've had for years, and the next, you're choosing between Ferraris, Lamborghinis, or a car most millionaires will never touch. But here's the real difference. It's not just the price, it's the jump from your first car to what you drive now, because some athletes upgrade slowly, and some, they skip every level and go straight to dominance. Welcome to the transformation. From broke to Bugatti, the first car usually says everything, not about money, about where they came from. For a lot of athletes, it starts simple. Used cars, older models, something reliable, nothing flashy, nothing loud, just something that gets them from one place to another. Because at that stage, it's not about image, it's about survival. Some drove hand-me-down cars, some borrowed from family, some didn't even have a car of their own. And that's what makes the jump so insane. Because once the contract hits, everything changes instantly. There's no slow transition, no gradual upgrade. It goes from, what can I afford, to what do I want? And that's where the first real shift happens. Most athletes don't go extreme immediately. They test the waters first. A clean upgrade, a luxury SUV, maybe a Mercedes or a Range Rover, something comfortable. Something new. It feels like success. It looks like success. But it doesn't last because the environment changes faster than they expect. Now they're surrounded by teammates, players who already made millions, players pulling up in cars they've never even seen before. And suddenly, that upgrade doesn't feel like enough. That's when the pressure begins, not spoken, not forced, but felt. Because every arrival becomes a comparison, every parking lot becomes a silent ranking. And once that realization hits, decisions change. Now it's not about upgrading, it's about catching up. That's when the real spending starts. Luxury turns into performance, comfort turns into attention, and Ferraris begin to show up. Bright colors, sharp edges, loud engines, cars that don't just sit quietly. Cars that demand to be noticed, and for a moment, it works. The reactions are different. People stop, people look, there's a presence now. But again, it doesn't last, because in this world, everyone adapts quickly. What looks insane today becomes normal tomorrow, and when that happens, cycle repeats. Now Lamborghinis enter the picture, louder, more aggressive, harder to ignore. These aren't just upgrades, they're statements. Statements that say, I'm not here to blend in, and at this level, that matters. Because blending in is the fastest way to disappear. Some players stop here. They find a balance, luxury, performance, comfort. But others, they keep going. Because once you experience that attention, once you feel that shift, it becomes addictive. And that's where things accelerate. Now it's not about one car. It's about multiple. Different choices for different moments. Different arrivals for different statements. Pull up quiet one day, pull up loud the next. Because now, it's not just about owning cars, it's about controlling perception. And the higher they go, faster the levels disappear. What used to feel impossible now feels accessible. What used to feel expensive now feels normal. And that's how the gap closes so quickly. From first car to supercar in a matter of months. But even that isn't the peak, because once everyone reaches this level, rules change again. Now it's not about having a Ferrari, it's about having one that stands out, custom finishes, unique builds, details that separate one from another. Because in a world where everyone is rich, difference becomes the only advantage. And that's where the real transformation happens. Not just in what they drive, in how they think. Because now, they're not asking what they need. They're asking what makes them stand above everyone else. And once that mindset locks in, there's no going back, because the next level isn't about upgrades. It's about jumping into a completely different category. The kind of category where cars aren't just expensive, they're untouchable. And this is where everything stops being normal. Because now, they're no longer upgrading, they're skipping levels. This is where the gap becomes obvious, not between rich and poor, but between fast growth and explosive transformation. Because some athletes take years to build up, step by step, level by level. But others, they jump straight past everything, from a basic car to something most people will never even see in real life. And that's where hypercars enter, machines that don't look like they belong on the road, low to the ground, sharp from every angle, built more like statements than vehicles. And the moment one of these shows up, everything else loses its impact. The Ferrari that once felt special, normal. The Lamborghini that turned heads, expected, because this level resets everything. Now the standard isn't luxury, it's rarity. How many exist? Who owns them? Who was allowed to get one? Because at this level, money alone isn't enough. You can have millions, even hundreds of millions, and still not qualify, because these cars aren't just sold, they're offered. Brands decide who gets access, who fits the image, who deserves to be associated with them. And that's what makes it different, because now, it's no longer about buying power, it's about status. And when an athlete reaches this point, everything changes again. Because now they're not just part of the league, they're part of a completely different circle, a smaller one, more exclusive, harder to enter, and the car becomes proof of that. That's where names like Bugatti start appearing, cars worth millions. Not hundreds of thousands, millions. And not just because of performance, but because of what they represent: access, rarity, control. And when one of these pulls up, there's no reaction at first. There's silence, because people don't immediately understand what they're looking at. Then it hits, and everything pauses, because now, this isn't just another car. This is the top, the kind of machine that separates everyone else instantly. No comparison, no competition, just distance from everyone else in that parking lot. And that's when the transformation is complete. From that first car, one that barely got attention, to something that resets the entire environment. That's not an upgrade, that's a jump, a massive one. And it happens faster than most people realize. Because in professional sports, time moves differently. Money arrives all at once, opportunities appear instantly, and the people who are ready for it don't hesitate. They take it, and they go as far as they possibly can, because they understand something most people don't. At this level, standing still doesn't protect you, it erases you. So they keep pushing, further, faster, higher, until they reach a point where there's nothing left to compare, because they've already moved past everyone else. And that's what makes this transformation so powerful. It's not just about going from broke to rich. It's about going from unnoticed to impossible to ignore in the shortest time possible. Because in this world, you're not measured by how much you earn. You're measured by how fast you elevate and how far you're willing to go once you get the chance. That's why some athletes stop at luxury, and others, they go all the way. From their first car to something worth millions, something rare, something restricted, something that changes how everyone sees them the moment they arrive. And that's the real difference, not the money, the jump. If you think this transformation is insane, wait until you see what happens when athletes start competing with private jets and mansions. Subscribe now, because the next level only gets more extreme.